You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We do not have any new callers, so let's get started with AA Ron.
What's up, Ryan? It's AA Ron from Eau Claire.
Yep.
I just had an idea, because I remember you talking about, in your podcast, about the NFL wanting to make football more of a year-round sport. And I had an idea, and I want to know what people think, or what you think. And that idea is, what if in the spring and summer, teams fielded a practice squad league? So it's still the same teams that we know and love, but it's sort of like their B team. And it's kind of like, there's probably a number of issues with this idea, the more I sort of say it out loud, but like, so it's like you're still watching the Packers versus the Ravens, or the Packers versus the Cowboys, but it's like kind of like the Packers, like backup squad or practice squad or whatever. And then it ends up being like a way to develop players for the team, and they can have their own coach for this different summer league. And it gives more players the opportunity to play. It gives fans the opportunity to watch throughout the year. I don't know. I don't know what logistical challenges this might present, but I do think it would be pretty fun, and it would be fun to watch, for example, your backup quarterback lead the team. And that way, for teams where you're like, I really like our backup quarterback, and I want to see him play more, like Malik Willis. Imagine Malik Willis leading a Packers team in the offseason, and sort of like a B squad league. So I don't know. I don't know. I think that would be really cool. I think that'd be really fun. I would definitely watch it. But I don't know. Is that a interesting idea? Let me know.
So I think that's kind of brilliant. The issue I've always had with all the other leagues, as I've said, is that I don't care about football. I care about the Packers. And so if you were to take the same XFL or whatever, I don't have any affiliation with these teams or these players or anything. But if you put 11 guys on the field with Packer helmets in the spring, and this is the Packers, it's the Packers B team or whatever you want to call it, fine, I don't care. These are our guys. And so I would 100% still be behind that, with the extra added benefit of not only is it now providing you with more year-round stuff, but think about the additional drama it would bring, as well as the valuable resource it would bring about actually being like a developmental league. I don't know how, again, the logistics would be a complete nightmare, probably making it prohibitive. But just as a thought experiment, think about how much in the offseason we'd be watching these guys going, that should be our starting corner. That's good. That's how, freaking good that guy is. And then, it's like, oh, it's just because it's the B League and he's not actually that good and you're being an idiot and blah, blah. These kinds of arguments, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. So, if there ever was another league that was going to be successful, and, the NFL has already kind of done that with wanting to like partner or pair up with these other leagues as sort of a developmental league. Okay, plan B. How about you just do it? Again, probably prohibitive based on, how much would be required to actually make it work. But if they could figure it out and make it work, it would be fantastic. I mean, I don't even want to necessarily say the cost. I mean, I can't imagine it would be a cost problem. Let's say you're the Green Bay Packers. You're already looking for year-round revenue. Honestly, the Packers would probably benefit more than other teams. Other teams would rather slap a soccer game and a concert in there to make more money rather than a developmental league for the Chargers who can't even get their own fans to show up at their stadium. So they might be the ones to rebel against that. But for the Packers, I think that'd be great because, you'd still pack the stadium for the B team, for their home teams. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't think the NFL would want to do it for the reasons that I said and probably a bunch more. There's also going to be issues of, Matt LaFleur and all that. They're not going to want anything to do with this. You're going to have a whole new coaching staff and everything else on top of it, which is additional cost. And, are they going to be able to even offset the cost? I don't know. As a thought experiment, I love it and I would watch it and I think it would be awesome. But I would assume there's just no way that that's ever going to. There's so many barriers, but just finding like a window of time in and of itself would be difficult. I mean, the Packers are going to be out on the field somewhat regularly through the offseason. It's going to be kind of tricky. Even the draft, like we had it in Lambeau, would we be allowed to have you couldn't have Packer games during that time. So whatever. But again, I like that idea.
Hey Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny here. So I was thinking about this. With Emmanuel Wilson now gone, which I really wish they would have kept him over Brooks. I really just did not understand that, man. Like, I guess Brooks is far better in pass pro, but Wilson can carry a good load and do, like, produce, And so that just didn't make any sense to me, but whatever. But it got me thinking. Dude, I think we might now, since we have kind of gotten what we needed for the D-line without drafting, I think we might draft a running back in the second, with our first or second pick, with that second or third round. Because there's some decent running backs in this class. I think about the guy from Nebraska or that Judarian Price, and they'd probably be available. And then I just think this draft now kind of comes down to they're going to focus on the offense and getting that O-line depth and maybe some D-line depth later on, like 5th, 6th round, just guys that are going to be serviceable and if anything happens. But I would really like them to see them get a running back because Jacobs, for all we know, is probably done after this year and gone. And Chris Brooks is who he is and probably also gone. So, we need to get ready for the future here. So I'm going to start looking into this. I'm going to do a mock draft when I get home. And I'm going to send it into the draft room. It's basically going to be, what it's going to do is show that what I think the Packers should do, and that's get a running back and some offensive line help early, and then focus on the D line. Maybe if you could do some corners early, maybe a corner early, and then running back, and then O line, and then get some D line and whatnot. But all right, well, looking forward to doing that, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Man, I got one more week here. Just about 2 weeks. Then I'm moving to North Carolina.
Ew. Well, I appreciate you sending that call in, by the way, for the draft room. If you missed that, we did go through that whole thing on there. I think again, I don't want to construct this thing in a particular order as though we have to go into the draft saying in the second round we have to get this position, third round, whatever. But if we were going to do that, running back is not off the table for sure. If we're looking at though need as well as positional value, and we're just kind of ranking it, let's leave aside like the actual the rounds or whatever, and let's just say we're going to rank our needs based on need and positional value. I struggle to get the running back position to the top of that list. Even, you say that we solved the defensive tackle thing. First of all, I don't think we did. We helped it a little bit, but I think there's still a bunch of stuff that we need, that the nose tackle situation. But even aside from that, is running back a bigger need than, I don't know, corner? Pretty much anywhere on the offensive line. I don't know. Tight end, you could say. Well, we have Tucker. Okay, well, we have just Tucker, and he just got injured this past year, and so that's kind of serious. I don't know. You could maybe throw edge in there. I know we have Micah, but again, he just coming off a serious injury. We just lost Rashawn. We don't really know what Van Ness has. I'm not saying for sure that these are bigger needs. These are just kind of arguable, I guess you could say. But either way, as a thought experiment, and I think I mentioned this on the draft room, it's good to do stuff like that, because regardless of what you think about should that be at the top of the list or not, we kind of need to condition ourselves a little bit to be prepared for stuff like that, because when it happens, we always, and I know Packer fans would say, oh no, that would never happen, the Packers would never, whatever. Okay, well they could, and the reason we're always shocked and blindsided is because we're so terrible at saying the Packers would never. And then when they do, we act shocked. Why don't we just stop saying they would never? And then we don't have to get caught with our pants down every single second. It is entirely possible that they end up taking something that we don't expect. In fact, you should expect for them to take something you don't expect. And running back absolutely is an option. Now, we went through some of the options. There's not a ton of actual players in that range. There's maybe one or two-ish, depending on, how that falls. But even then, if I pull it up again, I think you had said Mike Washington, and on the consensus board, he was in like the 70s, which would be a little bit of a reach. Yeah, so Judarian Price would be the one, and he's actually looks like fallen a little bit down to 50. That would be the one that's kind of right in that range. If he's gone, the only running back really in that range is Mike Washington, and again, he's at 72. That's a huge reach. After that is Emmett Johnson at 91, Jonah Coleman at 96, and Nick Singleton at 115. These are all third, fourth round guys. So if Judarian Price isn't there, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And so if we look at it just mathematically, as far as the odds that they get taken, compare it to, like if I just took wide receiver. I'm not saying that's a need, but you've got Chris Brazzell is at 48, Jeremy Bernard at 53, Chris Bell at 54, Zachariah Branch at 56, Malachi Fields at 59, Elijah Surratt at 71. Those are all closer than Washington. If you look at corner, there's Chris Johnson, D'Angelo Pons, Keith Abney, Keontae Scott. If you look at edge, R. Mason Thomas might be a little bit too early to consider, but Gabe Akis, Derek Moore, Malachi Lawrence, Danny Dennis Sutton. There's just a lot more actual human beings in that range than there are running backs. There's just not a lot of them at the top. So just for that reason, it just seems really unlikely we're going to end up with a running back because, again, they're not going to pick a position. They're going to pick a player. And the odds that the best player available is a running back is really low because there's just not a lot of running backs that are seemingly, I don't know exactly how the Packers board is, but seemingly going to be valued highly by the time the Packers pick comes around. Okay, take a break. We got TJ from Alabama.
Hey, Ryan, TJ from Alabama.
Yo.
Now that free agent, obviously it's got a long way to go, but the bulk of anything overly interesting in free agency is done. And overall, I'm semi-encouraged. I think Javon Hargrave, not that he's going to rule the world or anything, but do I think he comes in and is probably our best defensive tackle? Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
And then Benjamin St. Just coming in. Last year he would be our best, not necessarily expecting that either, but I think other than nose tackle, Goody did his job from a standpoint of we don't have a specific need in the draft that we have to address. We clearly have things we should address. Like, I would love to probably double up on corner. I would love to get some additional offensive linemen. But with what we've done, the only seemingly need is nose. Like Jonathan Ford and Nasir Stackhouse, I don't see it. We gotta find somebody to be able to plug the middle, soak up some double teams, let Wyatt and Javon do their work, let Lucas and Micah rush from the edge. But overall, I think solid. Not great, not horrible, solid. And then Jonathan Gannon, when we first hired Jonathan Gannon, I definitely was underwhelmed. Then I started warming it up to it a little bit. And then as we go on and hear that, Josh Sweat, really came to Arizona, not that, Josh Sweat, whether that worked, whatever. If he would come here, great, but I think Lucas Van Ness is younger and it's the same thing, yada, yada. But just the fact that it does appear that a lot of Jonathan Gannon's former players want to play for him. And when you throw that into the mix and kind of what he did in Philadelphia, and yeah, he had a star-stacked lineup there, but hey, in all fairness, that star-stacked lineup was not necessarily a star-stacked before he got there and was not necessarily star-stacked after he got there.
Right.
So you throw that in with what he wants, I'm really starting to warm up to Jonathan Gannon. Last comment is Keyshawn. I hear all this stuff with Keyshawn that, he's an all-pro returner and yada, yada, and he should do that. He was an all-pro returner, but when they went to the dynamic kickoff,
right,
he kind of sucked.
Right.
So I'm not
that's
looking
exactly
for
what I
Keyshawn
said
to go
was
back and
gonna
return.
happen. Yeah, that's on that last point. I caught a lot of flack, and there were some people with some very, very strong opinions on the Keyshawn thing. Oh no, he's going to be fine. Oh no. You don't understand. You don't know football. I'm not going to name names or anything, but there was certain film watchers, or a film watcher at least online, and potentially former football player, that wanted to put me or put us in our place for not understanding just how these things really work. You know what I mean? If you knew what you were looking at, you would know that he is going to be just fine with this situation and everything, and blah, 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 blah. That didn't happen. He obviously was nowhere near as effective anymore with this new kickoff situation. And, he could have been. I wasn't so definitive. My whole demeanor toward it was just, we don't know. We don't know what this guy's going to be. But you're right. As soon as they changed it, it doesn't suit him for whatever reason. It's not really a thing for him. As for some of the other points, I'm trying to think back on everything. First of all, yes, as far as Jonathan Gannon, those are two critical points. Number one, it was a good defensive line, but it was record-breaking with Gannon. It wasn't before, and it wasn't after. And we went through this before. Those same players, how their best years weren't just in Philly. It was in Philly with Gannon, and then it dropped off until they reunited in Arizona, and then that was like their third best year. So, yes, these guys love Gannon, but the thing that I love about it, and I don't know exactly how everybody feels about Gannon or what specifically it is, but you look at Hargrave for an example. What he loves about Gannon is how Gannon uses him and how Gannon brings him success. It's not like the Rich Bisaccia thing where he's my best friend and he's like a father to me and you don't understand. He's a beautiful soul. I don't give a crap if he thinks Gannon's a giant freaking annoying dork. At the end of the day, Gannon is a guy who knows how to move the X's and O's around on a board to get me a bunch of sacks so I get a big fat paycheck. That's what Gannon is. And that's what these players like. And that's why maybe they love him and maybe he is a father figure. I don't think so, but maybe. The point is, I don't care and I don't think they care. They want to be really, really good at football. They want to be very successful. They want to be superstars and they want to be highly paid superstars. And Gannon is the guy that got all those guys paid. And, we kind of had that with Hafley a little bit too. Maybe not as much with players, but look at coaches and how much everybody wanted to be there and they wanted to be a part of it. That's kind of an important aspect. And it is why personality kind of matters. And it is part of the reason why I would be worried about what's his name out in Minnesota. Now, he's a freak and he's very good at his job. And a lot of people would want to go there because he's good. But I wonder if it's a little too much. Kind of like I said before with Zimmer, where people freaking hated that guy. And I remember when there was talks about him being fired, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's dragging this limp-wristed garbage football team with no quarterback to the playoffs all the time on the back of this elite defense that is purely coming out of his mind and imagination. And you're talking about firing him? It's like, yeah, because he's a jagoff. And everybody hates him. And he throws his players under the bus, and he's the frickin' worst. So, yeah, it is good because we started off making fun of Gannon, and it comes to find out that despite being this awkward, weird goofball, guys will follow him anywhere. So, I am excited about that. I am hopeful that we got a bunch of other pass rushers and defensive tackles that have never been with Gannon that are going to have that same level of appreciation for his ability to take what they do well and make them even better at it. Micah Parsons says he wants to break the pass rush record. This is the best opportunity for him to do exactly that, or the sack record. Anywho, he got cut off at the 3 minutes, and there was no part 2. Jared, the Uber driver.
Hi, this is Jared, the Uber driver from Texas, and I just saw that LaGeria Sneed was released. Do you think that would be a good call? I haven't looked into it. Just surprised to see that name through the agency. Anyways, go back up.
Let me just look real quick because that might be old-ish, and I just want to make sure he didn't get picked up somewhere. So, the issue with LaGeria Sneed, he was very successful with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm guessing that's what most people remember him for. The issue being, it looks like he was injured at least 50% of the season the last 2 years in a row. So he played about 1,200 snaps a season for Kansas City, just to give you some idea of what a normal season looks like. He played about 600 in 2 seasons. So really, as far as snaps, about a quarter of a season in 2024 and 2025. and his grades were in the 30s and 40s as far as his coverage. So he's 29 years old. He's coming off back-to-back injuries, and he has not been a good corner guy since 2023. Now, you could make the case that, well, maybe it's just the scheme or this, that, or the other. I think at the end of the day, we already went out and got our 29-year-old corner. And I don't see the need in adding another guy that kind of would be similar, but also maybe I would say more expensive, because sometimes guys like this can still carry hefty price tags. But it's pretty devastating, seemingly, the last 2 years. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm assuming injury. He played weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then done. And actually, he played 33 snaps in week 7, which usually is what happens when you get hurt halfway through a game, and then you just don't come back for the rest of the year. 2024, he played weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and then didn't play the rest of the season. I doubt he got benched, so I'm guessing those are back-to-back injuries. So probably going to take a pass on that one. All right, let's take our final break. We got Randy from Minnesota.
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy in Minnesota.
What's up?
Well, it's Saturday afternoon, and just waiting for Snowmageddon to come through my part of Minnesota. Fun times will be had by all, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But I just got done listening to your podcast about how the Bears squandered all their money. It was really funny, but I have a conspiracy theory for you. How do we know Ryan Poles is not a Packer plant? Maybe he's getting paid by the Packers to screw up the Bears this bad.
Sure.
Just something to throw out there. I mean, no one can possibly be this stupid for real. I mean, my God. This is incredible, the amount of mismanagement that has done to that team. Oh, well, it is good to see.
So sad.
I'm glad the Bears are a broke franchise. It warms my heart, especially with the ice and snow coming. And I pass it on to Sal. I really appreciate his commentary on Opie or Ben Johnson, and that was good. That was a fun listen. And just a little fun note: Opie Mayberry is actually in what state? That's right, North Carolina. And where did Ben Johnson come from? Which I had no idea until you said it until Sal said it, I guess. But that's interesting. It's all tying together.
Yep.
All these conspiracies tie together. Anyway, that's all I got. Everyone stay safe in the storm. If you're getting it, go Pack, go. Bye.
Well, speaking of, wait till tomorrow. We got another connection because J.C. Treader is Andy Bernard. So a lot of fun learnings we got going on here. But yeah, Snowmageddon was awful. I thought we were gonna miss it because I kept seeing everybody post pictures up in Lambeau and north of where I live in southern Wisconsin, and it's, oh, we got a foot of snow, we got a foot and a half, this is the worst thing. It's raining outside. I'm like, this is the greatest, we missed it, ha ha, suckers. And no big deal, everything was fine. Go to bed, wake up, it is snowing, and the wind was so bad, there were massive snow drifts, so I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I can see grass in my backyard. But also, there is like 4 feet of snow at my back door. So that's freaking weird. But no, it was awful. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be stubborn. It is March. I'm not doing it. I'm not shoveling. I'm not snow blowing. I'm not doing any of that crap. It's just going to sit like that. Sorry if anybody wants to go on a walk in 40-mile-per-hour winds and like 5 degrees outside. You got to go for a walk. You know what? Walk through the snow or walk on the street. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. All right. The sun's going to come out. It's going to melt in like a day or two. I'm not doing it. Well, guess what? My very fortunate daughter is flying to Florida. And in order to go there, my wife is going to drive her to Milwaukee to the airport, which means I need to shovel behind the car. Freaking dang it, right? Turns out, by the way, absolute worst time in the world. Probably the only 2 days the entire year that had these kind of very serious weather issues. I mean, we've had snow, but like this was really bad with the rapid plummeting temperatures. Everything's frozen. Everything's like massive amounts of snow. Her flight got canceled like 4 times. It was a freaking nightmare. Anyway, she's in Florida now, so hopefully that's much happier and nicer and sunnier and warmer than it is here. By the way, sidewalk, everything completely melted. But I had to shovel, and it was windy. And it's one of those things too where it's like, I'm just gonna go outside. I'm not getting bundled up. So I like put on I slipped on my shoes and I put on a sweatshirt and I left my like sweatpants on and I just went outside. That wind was cutting frickin' through me. It hurt so bad. And it was like, it was nice and easy at first because it's not super thick right behind the car. And I'm like, all right, just one swipe at a time. And we're just doing behind the car. I don't give a crap about the rest of this. And then we're going inside. And then as you get closer to the end of the driveway, it goes from 4 inches to frickin' 2 feet. And I'm like taking layers at a time. I'm like, this is the worst day of my life. I'm so cold. Not to mention it was like 70 a week ago. So my body is not acclimated to the cold anymore. My body takes 1 day to get in like spring mode. Like, yeah, we're grilling and I don't do cold anymore. I don't know why. That's not how Wisconsin works. Anyways. Yeah, like I said with the Bears, man, if it wasn't for the fact that they are riding on cloud 9 right now because they genuinely believe Caleb is like a top 10 quarterback. He's not, but whatever. I'll just let them believe that. That's fine. They've got their guy. They for the first time, like basically in their franchise, they have a really elite quarterback. And they went to the playoffs, and everything is just they have got the greatest coach in the world. They are just riding on cloud. They're very good at being delusional, as we know. They are in heaven, and I think that is kind of divine providence for them, because if that didn't happen and they were forced to face the actual reality that they're in right now, the dispute over the city and the possibly moving to Indiana and the gross mismanagement of the GM, and of course the owner who's just not good at anything that the Bears fans already hate. I don't know that they could take it. I don't know that the city of Chicago and their fans could handle this just complete catastrophic failure. And so I believe that there was some intervention that came down and said, let's just give them, and let's be honest, look at the games they won. They were a terrible team that lucked their way back through like the last 10 games in a row. They just won everything. It's like angels in the outfield in the back half of the fourth quarter, every single game, just carrying them to victories so that they can go to the playoffs. And then they had them beating the Packers in the playoffs, which is like winning 4 Super Bowls for most normal franchise fan bases. So they won 4 Super Bowls. They are riding high. They're losing all their players. They don't even care. DJ Moore's gone. They're just there. This is the best. They're still just in a euphoric state. They cannot see what's happening right now. And I'm happy, because as much as I talk trash about them, the level of pain and suffering they would feel if they could see what was happening to their team is the kind of thing you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. So we don't want that.
Yo, Ryan, it's your Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
It's Saturday.
Okay. Is that a question?
The 14th, I think. The 14th. 3/14/2026. It's a wonderful day.
Good.
It's about to get nasty here in Wisconsin, I hear, weather-wise. So, hopefully that'll be the last hurrah of winter. Anyways, I was just, listening and checking into the latest and greatest Packer moves, and got some exciting stuff going on. Very cool. I don't know. I haven't dug deep, but we picked up Hargrave. He's old, but hopefully he's still got something left in the tank. I'm just curious what you had to say about him as far as, and maybe you've talked about it, I just I've missed it or whatever. I don't know where I'm at. My format I listen to the podcast on is all goofed up. I don't know what I've listened to and what I haven't. And I got a Patreon. Is that what I should be using or trying out?
No.
If you want to comment on that, I'll try to dig into that a little.
Patreon is just if you wanted to support me financially. I will occasionally put, thank you. I will occasionally put some stuff on there, some bonus content. I wouldn't join Patreon for the bonus content. Okay, you're just going to be disappointed. Support me because you want to support me, and as a favor, I will, when I remember and when I think of it, when I come up with something and have time, I will provide some additional content. But no, when Spotify's acting up, I don't know. I can't really usher you in another direction because they all kind of have their moments of messing everything up.
But I don't know much about what the best. I know you badmouthed them, but that was a long time ago. And now you have seemed to have most recently been saying decent things about them, or maybe that's just the best way you get paid. I don't know. Anyways, what's the best way? But Hargrave, is he a high intelligence guy? I mean, I know that I think is the problem with Quay Walker. I don't want to badmouth him because I think he's a good dude. I like his energy and whatnot, but I just don't think he has what it takes up in the brain, you know, and that is, I don't know why they drafted him in the first place. I mean, I know why they drafted him. He's athletic, but yeah, you got to be smart, man. We need smart people, especially if I think he was calling the plays, right? Quarterback of the defense type thing. So that this Zaire Franklin, he's proved, I think, that he is that kind of guy, the guy who's able to direct the defense. So, yeah, thoughts maybe on that, if that's why we got Franklin over Walker. I know Franklin's old too, but hopefully he's got enough left in the tank and it's intelligence that puts us over the top. All right, 3 minutes coming up. Rico out. Y'all have a great day.
Yeah, I honestly don't know about the intelligence factor. I haven't looked into that specific component, but suffice it to say again, I think they're going to be very, very similar, and one is just extremely cheap compared to the other. And then if you're looking for intelligence, again, I have no idea where these two would rank, but one of them is definitely much more veteran, has a lot of experience in a lot of different schemes and everything else. So I would guess that, and familiarity with similar schemes. Gannon was there for a period of time, and then even after Gannon left, where Gannon went and what he took with him is similar to what was left behind. So there's going to be a lot of overlap schematically. So I don't know, but I don't think we're going backwards, I guess is what I would say.
Hey, Pac Daddy, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois. Free agency has pretty much come to a standstill, and Packers have made some moves, but leaves a lot on the table when it comes to spots being filled, because there's still a lot of spots left open. Namely, number one, backup quarterback. I have a hard time believing that Ritter is who they're happy with going into the season as their backup. And I'll keep saying it until it happens, but I sure hope that they get Justin Fields as a backup.
Yeah,
I feel like he could be a quality player to come in and do what is needed of him. So I hope we don't have to ask much of him, but he'd be the guy I would hope to see. Number two, defensive line. I know they got Hargraves as free agent, but they've lost Inigbare and Rashawn Gary. I know the signing of Brenton Cox can help a little bit, but I still feel like there's still a spot there that needs to be filled on that. So defensive end, defensive line, number two. Number three, I can't help but feel like, Sky Moore is a special teams signing.
Mm-hmm.
I do not feel like he is a wide receiver group kind of guy. We already got Jaden Reed and Golden that kind of fills those roles as your jet sweep kind of guys. And with Dobbs leaving, can't help but feel like there's maybe a spot there that needs to be filled. I don't look for them to sign free agency. I hope that they do it through the draft. But that is another, what I feel like maybe is if you're grading thumbs up or thumbs down, if they've improved, I feel like the absence of Dobbs is definitely a thumbs down. So, wondering what you thought when they were there's going to be anybody else that they sign, and are they content with this and going into the draft? But time draws near. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would be. If you wanted to go in and get a nose tackle, you could, but I just think it's kind of it's a very low value position. And it doesn't make sense to go into free agency where everybody's old and expensive. It just doesn't really make sense. So I think you ride with what you got. You mentioned, it's a net negative or whatever. Yeah, maybe. I think one of the problems I have, I saw somebody posted kind of like a thing showing the value added or lost or whatever the case may be. And the problem is it doesn't really, number one, again, it doesn't take into account that there is a net negative across the NFL. This is purging time. It's not adding time. That happens in the draft. Free agency, there is no actual adding. There's swapping, and then there's cutting, as in they're leaving the NFL. They will not have a new team. The other thing is it doesn't really take into account, not that it can know, which is why there's no way to actually do this properly. There's no way to know actual value loss. It's kind of a value lost over replacement. Well, if we assume the replacement is golden, my hope is that we actually got better at wide receiver by losing Romeo Dobbs. I would certainly hope we did. So if that's the case, we got better at wide receiver. We got better at defensive tackle. You could argue we got better at edge by losing Rashawn Gary because he was eating up a lot of snaps from guys that were better than him as pass rushers, namely Lucas Van Ness. I know Van Ness was hurt a lot, but I think this puts him in a position of being edge 2 and also pushes up a lot of other guys that probably should be getting more opportunities as well. So if we just take a negative as a negative without looking at the replacement snaps and whether those snaps got better or worse, I don't know that we're doing it. So in other words, there is such a thing as addition by subtraction. So, did we get better? I don't know, it marginally, but I think more importantly, we've positioned ourselves pretty well to have a core team that can compete and also have set ourselves up to where we can go into the draft relatively comfortably. There's a couple things, if we don't get a corner, it's going to be kind of, okay, whatever. If we don't get a nose tackle, it's, well, I guess we ride with Stackhouse and Ford, or possibly do something after the draft. There's still going to be guys floating around. That would maybe be the better time to say, well, I guess we should probably drop a couple coins on one of these more expensive guys because we didn't get somebody in the draft. But I'm comfortable with where we're at right now, is what I would say. Whether the Packers are still working the phones and how panicked they are about things, I really don't know. But I feel relatively good about where we're at. That isn't to say that I think all of our positions are elite, which is how I think a lot of people want to judge this, of how could you be okay with our cornerback position. That's not the point. I'm not judging it against impossible expectations. I'm not judging it against a world in which we have infinite money, no salary cap, and a free agency filled with superstars. That's not the world I live in. That's not the world any of us live in, so that's not the criteria I'm judging the Packers by. But, yeah, I guess I could do a second scan of free agency, but there's nobody that I'm aware of that's out there that I feel like, man, we are severely lacking in this area, And this would be a very easy fix, and we need to go do it. But anywho, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.